Hey there, Kenneth French of Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. We're very, very happy you stopped by. Either you're going to watch this or listen to this because you want to take your business to the next level. You're probably an entrepreneur who's either just starting out or you've been around for quite a while and you want to take your business to the next level. You're probably a real estate investor, maybe even a real estate agent, maybe a professional or of some sort, professional advisor of some sort. And well, you are stopping by because you need some valuable advice from one of the top industry leaders there is. Anyway, thank you very much. Once again, Kenneth French, Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Really glad you stopped by.
The person most influential in my entrepreneurial life is here right now as we speak. Sharon Lechter, so glad you're here.
Well, thank you, Kenner. I'm honored and appreciate the tribute.
No, that's 100% factual. I remember years ago, I was working for a company. I had 95% independence. I loved it. I read your book that you co-authored, and well, I'm sure we're going to talk about that in a little bit. And it completely changed my life. It helped me become an entrepreneur, which, by the way, I've impacted a lot of entrepreneurs. So I can't imagine just in my little world how many people you've helped along the way. So, man, this is going to be huge. So we're going to spend 15, 20 minutes chatting, hopefully adding value to those entrepreneurs, mainly real estate investors who are trying to take it to the next level. Some people who are buying and selling widgets who are trying to take it to the next level. So this is going to be a huge conversation for so many people. Thanks again.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So how about this? I like making it kind of difficult, meaning I ask questions right off the bat. What's the one thing, what's the one tip you would suggest to any entrepreneur wanting to take it to the next level? Sharon Lechter.
Well, the first tip and the last tip and the in-between tip is to concentrate on buying, building, and creating income-producing assets. That is the only pathway to financial independence. And too many people chase income. They chase wages or they chase passive income. Let's chase the assets and they become economic engines that help us create the financial freedom we deserve.
Would you describe that as passive income? How would you describe that?
Well, a lot of the assets start off being active income. So you have to actually get real estate up and running, and then you have the systems in place, you have the people in place, and so it becomes passive income. You build a business. A lot of times you have to stay in that business a lot and work overtime to get it all set up and running. But then you bring in the right team, and so you turn that business from a job into an actual asset where other people are running it for you. So the goal is to understand what the future outcome is to have an asset that is working for you so that you don't have to be there to drive it.
Just like I would expect, adding value right off the bat that shows basically how good of an entrepreneur you are. So just real quick, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you are here today with us?
Well, thanks, Kenner. I appreciate that. Yeah, I grew up in a very lower middle class house. We lived in a little tiny house that I was embarrassed by between my mom's beauty shop and my dad's used car lot. We had rental properties that I had to go scrub out between bathrooms. I swore I would never be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be like my friends' parents, CEOs and military officers. And so I was bound and determined, first generation to go to college. Only woman in my accounting classes, only woman in a lot of my business classes, one of the very first women who started out in public accounting in Atlanta, Georgia. I thought I was pretty proud of myself because I made it. I was very successful. About the ripe old age of 25, I wasn't in control of my life. I bet a few people watching or listening to this have had that experience where other people were telling me how to rule my day. And so I had a client invite me to leave public accounting and go with him. He was buying a company out of bankruptcy. And I still remember going back to my condo with the old yellow legal pad, because this was before PCs, before cell phones. And I did the old pros and cons. It didn't help me a bit because I could argue both sides. I was successful in my accounting career, and yet I had this opportunity. My hand kind of took off across the top of the page and wrote, why not? And that is still my mantra today, many, many years later. Why not do something different? Why not solve a problem or serve a need? That is the driving force behind all entrepreneurship, solving a problem, serving a need. Why not take that path less traveled? And I've really never looked back. I still believe today something is wrong, I think I can do something about it, or if something makes me mad, I start another company. Solve a problem, serve a need.
Obviously, you started some very successful companies. So what are some other things that are key components to success with some, starting a company or raising funds or whatever the case is?
Well, I have as you mentioned, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I wrote 15 of those books. I built that brand into a global financial brand. And then I went into help reinvigorate the teachings of Napoleon Hill. And my first book there was called 3 Feet from Gold. And in it, I synthesized a personal success equation that I always like to share because it's the basis of everything. I use it in my high-level mentoring. I use it in my interviews. It's P plus T, your passion and your talent. And your passion for me, you talk about do what you love what you do. My passion comes from anger. We weren't teaching kids about money in school. And my talent was years as a CPA, years in publishing. And so we combine that. We take our passion and our talent, and most of the time we think we have to do it on our own. We stop there. But true success comes from times the right association. And that's helped me in every success I've had in my life. I started the Talking Children's book. We had associations with little companies like Disney, Warner Brothers, Sesame Street. So that helped us go around the globe. Same thing with Rich Dad. As we wanted to get that around the globe, we had associations that helped us scale tremendously. And that's P plus T times the power of association times another A called taking action. So how many times do we know what we're supposed to do? We just don't do it, right?
I think a lot of times we know what we're supposed to do, but we're just lazy or whatever the case is.
That's right. And I'm sure all of us right now can think of a time that applied to us or clients or other people where they could be so successful if they just took the action, and they're in their comfort zone. They're afraid. That fear holds them back. And that's the last element of this formula. And that is all of it encased with the plus F, faith. Faith in yourself, faith in what you're doing, faith that is needed and necessary, and faith that you will succeed. And most of the time, it's the power of association and that confidence, that faith that need the most help when I start with my clients. And they go hand in hand, because when you have the right people around you, you have the right mentor, you have people on your team who are strong where you're weak. When you have the right people and you have a bad day, we all have bad days. They're not going to let you stay there. And so that to me is really the essence of success in all aspects of our life. Do you have the right people around you? Are you taking the right actions? Do you have that confidence in yourself? Or do you instead of that F that's called faith, that F is fear, and it holds us back. It keeps us frozen in time.
Wow. So there's a lot to unpack there. Wish we had more time. So you mentioned, people you hang out with. It's funny. I was just talking to my friend maybe about an hour ago, and we were talking about the fact that, he believes his keys to success were some of the people he surrounded himself with. And you mentioned something about high-level coaching. Explain a little bit about your high-level coaching, because I'm going to assume, one, if someone enters that group, they would also get coaching from you, but also be around some of their high-level people. So explain a little bit about that.
Well, absolutely. One of my greatest joys today, I really focus on my high-level mentoring clients are my number one priority. And really, I don't sell them a program. I step into their world and I look through what associations we can do, how they can scale their business, how they can get to the next level, make introductions to them, help guide them. And because I've been through this a few times, I built 3 global brands. I have my superpowers. I can identify new streams of revenue. I can identify barriers that are holding people back and help them see how they can take where they are now and use it as a leapfrog to create the success that they deserve. And as I said, I use this formula. And you can go to personalsuccessequation.com if you want to have like an ebook I wrote about how you can look at it from your own perspective. But high-level mentoring for me is where I literally become like a board of an advisor to you within your company to help you make the decisions that you need to keep moving forward. And I cherish it. I love it. My team has said my legacy is a legacy of helping create other people's legacies. And I love that because that's exactly what I love to do.
Yeah, you can tell you have energy behind you. So can you mention that website again? I guess that's the best way to get a hold of you about coaching or anything else.
Yeah, well, SharonLechter.com is my main site, SharonLechter.com, and there's information in there about our mentoring program and how you can reach out to us, and we'll have an introductory call to find out what you're looking for and how we would fit together. And then we also have business retreats that we have at our ranch here in Arizona. So that's another way to get a shorter, in-depth mentoring time with me. And then the personalsuccessequation.com is the website where I go through that, and you have access to get a free ebook to help you really dissect your own personal success equation.
And do you help people that are, just starting out, or do you help people who have a whatever minimum net worth of X, or that already have an operating company, or how does that work?
Great question, Kenner. I have different audiences. And so the people that are really struggling and trying to find their footing in the financial world, we have low cost programs to help them. And I do, calls with the group on a regular basis to help them through that. My main base of clients are entrepreneurs that have reached a certain level of success and are looking to go to the next level. Some of them reach success in a company and then they're now trying to figure out their next chapter. And so they not only have reached a level of success, but now they're trying to say, okay, now what do I do? And that's always fun because we've all gone through those periods of transition. But it is fun to me. And then, of course, I have my speaking. So I really focus a lot of my energy and time is on speaking, going around the world speaking, but also on my high-level mentoring clients.
So you've been in business for a while, you've been in business for a while. So what would you have changed along the way to make you, who knows, maybe even that much more successful if you can be any more successful than you already are?
Well, I get asked that question a lot. And my answer is kind of like, I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't had all my successes and all my failures along the way. I probably would have told myself to step outside my comfort zone a lot earlier, because today I always challenge myself and I challenge people that I speak to about when was the last time you did something for the first time? It gives you a reason to pause and think about it. Because if you can't come up with an answer, maybe you're sitting in your comfort zone a little too much. But I'm always challenging myself to do something new, to step outside my comfort zone. And, there are lots of things in my life that are mistakes I wish I hadn't made, but I learned from them. And so, I'm a person that says your windshield is big so you can go anywhere you want. Your rear view mirror is very small because you're supposed to learn from the past. You're not supposed to dwell on it.
That's a very good quote. Look at Sharon.
Yeah, well, the big one is you're the CEO of your life. You are the CEO of your life. You're in the driver's seat. You have your hands on the steering wheel, your foot on the accelerator, big windshield. You can go anywhere you want to go. The rear view mirror is really small because you're just supposed to learn from the past, not let it dictate you or define you.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Nice. Blows me away. Again, I would expect you to be just as good as you've been here. So let's say I'm I don't know. Let's say I have a net worth of whatever. I'm trying to think of our avatar of $20 million net worth. I'm just a real estate investor, not just a real estate investor. That sounds bad. People are going to kill me for that. I'm a real estate investor, and I don't need to worry about my brand, but I want to take it to the next level. I know that you're an accountant, or I should say CPA, but I don't know if you're active CPA. Can think of it. What would you say to someone like that who wants to take it to the next level, and they don't really worry about their brand per se? Maybe they're worried about their books, as an example. Thoughts?
Well, they're probably worried about their legacy for their family in the future. So that is your brand. It doesn't necessarily need to be a promotional brand, but you've created great success. You have a $20 million net worth. So how do you want to be remembered by your family and your friends and your associates? How can you take what you've learned and share it with other people? How can you now take that and maybe also, what I just did with my husband in January was we went through our estates and we shuffled a lot of our real estate investments because we wanted to make sure that they were set up within our estate. So not to be a burden to our children, but to be a benefit to them. And so each stage of life is important to take a moment and go through that personal success equation, but also to figure out, as I turned 70 in January, so the runway in front of me is a lot shorter than behind me. So it's like you have different decisions you need to make along the way that's appropriate for you. So yes, enjoy your success, but have you created it so that it is not just, you might not want to sell it, but create it so that it's strong, it's self-sufficient. So then if something happens to you, it's not a burden to your heirs.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that perfectly. That's a good way. I knew you'd be able to think on your feet, answer some kind of hard questions. Just like I would expect. This is going to be kind of a weird question. What has it been like? Because I know that you're actually even helping on the federal level. What's that like? What's it like being at the top of the mountain? I mean, you've got a very interesting thing going on. You really do. What's it like being at the very, very top of the mountain? That's what I would ask you.
Well, it's very humbling. After building Rich Dad, I stepped into the world's largest personal development brand. I started the first electronic brand globally for children's books of the sound strips down the side. So I've been instrumental in 3 global brands, but I'm still humbled by the fact that I've had those opportunities, and I want to share how I did it, because there's nothing special about me. I just have this why not attitude to go out there. I did have the opportunity to advise 2 U.S. presidents on financial literacy. It is very frustrating how the government works. I will tell you, being totally honest, that's probably one of the most frustrating experiences of my life. I was humbled. I was honored. We got a few things accomplished, but not enough. When you're an entrepreneur and action taker, the government, I always say my hair used to be red until you work with the government. Now it's white. But, and so I still am 30 years worth of trying to get financial literacy required at the high school level. That will be the day I retire. We went from 5 states. We now are at 26. We still need every child, because if we want every child to have the opportunity to succeed, they need to learn about money in school. So that's kind of my burning passion.
Yeah, that's got to be an uphill battle, because, man, it seems like, there's so many high schoolers who graduate, or college people even who graduate, who have no financial literacy whatsoever.
They have no clue. Yep. They actually graduate from college in debt. And it's scary.
Yeah, there you go. So kind of in closing, so what's one thing we have not discussed that you would like the viewers and listeners out there to kind of think about, and maybe help them to take their situation to the next level if they want to?
Well, we've already mentioned it, but I just want to re-mention the fact to focus on the assets. I'm known I say assets are sexy, and the older you get, the sexier they become. And understand that nobody else is going to do it for you. And so a lot of people say, well, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I go, stop it. That means you're giving up your power. You're letting somebody else bring it to you. So I'll end with, there are 3 things you control: your thoughts, your words, your actions. Mm-hmm. And if your thoughts are stinking because of money, you have a scarcity mindset, it's going to impact your words and your actions and your wallet. And so start thinking about your financial mindset and what do you need to do. All of my programs start with a money action and a mindset action, because if you don't change the scarcity mindset to one of abundance, you're not going to reach the level of success you deserve.
So I'm going to ask a few more questions about that. So then, what's it like working with you one-on-one? What's that like? What's the engagement like? Because you've built it up pretty well in the short time we've been chatting. What's it like?
Well, each engagement is unique. I step into your world. As I said, I don't sell you a predetermined program, but you work with me. The initial program was a year. I have clients that are now on their 7th, 8th year. So, because I take the price down after the first year, because they become a part of my family. So, but we work every month. We have goals, we have homework, I have follow-ups. I have a business retreat at my ranch that is here in Arizona, where we go a deep dive for 4 days, 3 nights. And then everybody has a full strategy day where they come and we really tear apart the business, tear apart their vision, and see what elements we can support them in as it relates to intellectual property, as it relates to licensing, as it relates to growth and revenue streams. And so all of that is just really in depth. as I say, I step into your world and go in and see what we can do to support you. What doors can I open for you? What introductions can I make for you in your industries? And that's something that, I just love doing. I love seeing people getting excited about new opportunities in their life.
So if you got, without saying a name, because I'm sure you wouldn't want to break it in confidences, give a case example of someone who was struggling, maybe they were working 40-hour days, right? And now they're all of a sudden working 8-hour days, and they're killing it. And you've totally changed their maybe life or business based on what you do.
Well, I'll talk about somebody that was already successful when I got involved, and that was Brandon Dawson. He built Audigy. He's now a partner of Cardone Ventures, but he built the hearing aid company, and I was one of his speakers, and it was right when I released 3 Feet from Gold, which is the personal success equation book. And he was doing very, very well. He was in the process of thinking about selling it, and I had a conversation with him. He shares to the world that I was his mentor about intellectual property, and he developed all these systems of educating all these hearing aid companies around the world that he was in control of. And I said, well, I hope you have your intellectual property, in a separate company, and you're protecting that. And he said, yeah, he tells this story years later. And he said he went home that night and did it. And so he ended up selling that company 71 times EBITDA, $151 million. But that intellectual property that he had in a separate company is now the basis of Cardone Ventures training. And they've sold $151 million in the last 2 years. So they're doing pretty well. I keep saying, Brandon, where's my royalty?
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm so proud of him, and he just continues to change lives. So many companies have been impacted positively because of that intellectual property that he wouldn't have had he left it in that company. And so, it makes me proud to know that I've impacted somebody like that. I have other people that were very successful in their jobs, and yet they had a lot of debt. And so we helped them work out a plan for them to get out of debt. And in 6 months, one of my clients, she got out of $70,000 worth of bad debt. And then she was able to take off. Because, when you have that negativity, it holds you back. It keeps you back. I have other companies that had intellectual property they were doing a license with the federal government for alternators to use in government, out in the middle of the desert. It would power a camp. Mm-hmm. And so we got involved with them and had them make sure that license agreement was solely for that use and purpose, because then we could help them create a license with commercial buses, with commercial trucks, other types of, so it exponentially increased their business. So that's the kind of thing people don't always understand. When you get a contract, you get excited about it, but you have to understand, what does this contract entail? Does it tie my hands in other industries, or will it gives me the freedom to take what I know and what I've built into other directions as well?
I know there are a couple of reasons I wanted to ask that question kind of in closing, because I mean, those case examples, obviously they're great case examples. I look at me, what it's done for me when I've read your book. Well, not only the first book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, but kind of the whole series, or at least parts of the series. And it's changed my life, because I was very happy as an employee. It just didn't make sense for me long term, because I didn't have, I think as sometimes as a W-2 employee, you don't have the you don't have the flexibility. You're working for the man, if you will, versus, sure, it's hard at first getting your own gig going, but then again, man, when I'm so happy and I'm an entrepreneur, plus I'm happy I've been able to help other entrepreneurs. My case example, it's now I have vacations. I have enough wealth to take long vacations. I mean, I only work half the year. It's really based on, some of your writings. So I like to look at me as a case example, and I'm sure.
Well, you took action though, Kenner. Let's not say, a lot of people tell me your book changed my life, and I always stop them. I go, I'm so glad that something I wrote inspired you. But there's a lot of people that read the book and do nothing. And so I'm glad that I inspired you, Kenner, but you took the bold action, and now you're sharing what you did with other people as well. So again, stand in your own glory, be proud of yourself for what you've done, because you did the work. I didn't.
That's awesome. Thank you. I'll pat myself in the back. But yes, thank you very much.
Good.
I can only imagine what I did based on the writings that you've said. having you as a consultant, I'm sure that would 10x me big time. You know, we're gonna have to chat after this, but man, this has been great. I really appreciate you taking the time, and for all those people out there who are watching and listening, thank you for taking the time. Please get a hold of Sharon. By the way, once again, Sharon, how does someone get a hold of you?
Well, join me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all those good things, but reach out to me. My personal email is sharon@sharonlechter.com. I challenge you to reach out to me. You can go to my website, sharonlechter.com, to see all information about the mentoring. If you are interested in that, please go to sharonlechter.com, and there's a form that will lead you through so that we can know how best to serve you.
That's awesome. By the way, how do you spell your name, just in case if there are people listening?
It's Lechter. Sharon is SharonLechter.com.
Once again, Sharon, thank you very much. And for all those people who are watching, listening out there, really appreciate you taking the time to watch and listen to this. It's been great. I've had a good time. I knew I'd have a good time listening and interacting with Sharon. Once again, this is Kenneth French. You're watching and listening, The Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.